Good evening, everyone, and welcome to this meeting of the Washington County Board of Education. At this time, I call the meeting to order and declare a quorum. We have all board members present. We don't have our student member present this evening. At this time, I invite you to stand with us as we say the Pledge of Allegiance and followed by a moment of silence. Thank you.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. This time we'll have approval of this evening's agenda. Is there a motion, please?
So moved.
Thank you, Mrs. Murray. Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you, Mr. Evans. Any discussion of the agenda? All those in favor? All right, we have 7 affirmative votes, so we have an approved agenda. We'll move to approval of the minutes. Is there a motion?
Yes, Mrs. Williams, I move for the approval of the closed session minutes dated Tuesday, May 3rd, 2022.
Thank you, Mr. Gessert. Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you, Mr. Evans. Are there any additions or corrections to those minutes? All right, all those in favor? All right, we have 6 affirmative, and I am abstaining.
Our second motion will be for the approval of the business meeting minutes dated Tuesday, May 3rd, 2022.
Thank you, Mr. Gessert. Is there a second? Second. Thank you, Mrs. Murray. Any additions or corrections to the minutes of the business meeting of May 3rd? All those in favor of approval? All right, we have
Ms.
6.
Williams, can you move your microphone a little closer to you?
Thank you. Can you hear me now, okay?
Yeah.
All right. We have 6 affirmative and 1 abstention, so we have 2 approved sets of minutes. Thank you. At this time, we'll have public comment. And before we begin, I'd like to read from Board Policy KD regarding procedures, business meetings. Each person wishing to address the Board of Education is encouraged but not required to sign up prior to the meeting and may address any topic concerning Washington County Public Schools except personnel or matters which clearly identify an individual or individuals. Each speaker may speak for up to 5 minutes. And Mr. Bickford is our timekeeper. Mr. Bickford, would you like to explain our system for
When you have
keeping
about
time?
30 seconds left, I'll hold up the yellow, and when you should wrap up, I'll hold up the red.
Thanks, Mr. Bickford. So at this time, the first person I have who has signed up in advance is Mr. Anthony Nally. Is Mr. Nally here? Mr. Nally?
If it's okay, Mayor Long and I are going to come together.
Absolutely, absolutely.
I signed up second.
Oh. Well, we're happy to have you both here this evening. So, Mr. Long, will you be speaking after Mr. Nally?
Before.
You want to do, before, and then Mr. Nally will be speaking? Okay.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
First of all, I'd like to thank you all for giving us this opportunity to come talk to you. Most of you probably already know what we're here about. The Boonesboro School Complex and Chase 6 adjoining, making it an intersection. We have talked to State Highway in the past about the safety factor with getting the buses out, students walking from Fletcher's Grove over to the school complex and not having a adequate crosswalk. They would not allow us to put a traffic light like it's at South High that only works at certain hours of the day when school's dismissed. They said, no, absolutely not, has to be an intersection. We've worked out with agreement with the developer And we hope that you all go along. I have some drawings here I'll give to Madam President to you for you all to look at when you have your agenda. If you ever want to discuss it, please invite us. Hopefully we can give you some good insight. It's a good safety factor. Buses are trying to get out of there. Students are trying to walk. Traffic's really heavy on Maple Avenue. We do have a speeding problem. State Highway has agreed to us that if we get that intersection and the traffic light goes up and crosswalks and everything, they will reduce the speed limit to 25 and make it official school zone. It is a school zone now. It's a sign up, but the speed limit is 30 miles an hour in through there. Our police officers do patrol it as much as they can. We have a small police force, so our hands are tied. Not only is the safety factor, if we can get that road through, it will help get the buses and the traffic out of the school complex faster. It will take the school buses out from going down Center Street, up Lakin Avenue, down St. Paul Street, and setting in front of the fire hall. Unfortunately, we did have an incident. There was a fire call a couple weeks ago. It took 2 traffic lights before the fire company could respond to that call. Fortunately, it was a malfunction alarm. But if it was a dire emergency, we would be in a lot of trouble getting those out because the school buses are waiting for the traffic light at the square to get them out. Also, if we can get this Chase 6 and Campus Drive to line up, it will help our response time for our ambulance company if they have a call to the school complex, because they're located right down the road from the traffic intersection. They could get to the schools faster. Any emergencies on Maple Avenue, they have a lot of calls at Farney-Keedy Home. It would help their response time cut down. Also, I don't know if you ever sat at the intersection of Alden and 40 and Maple Avenue right there at the traffic light. You all see how hard it is for them school buses to make a real hard right turn to go out Alden and 40. This way they would have a direct shot right across Chase 6 and going to the routes. So we do have a person that has some property there. He's willing to swap. We do understand the State Board of Education does own that piece of ground and have the final say. Hopefully, with your all's support, the county commissioners and some of the state delegation, maybe the state would agree to swap that so we can get this completed. The developer has agreed. He's putting all the traffic situations in with State Highway. He's also agreed, if this is approved, the homeowner, he's not worried about his house that's there that he rents. He'd like to keep his business in that same general area. I don't know where you're familiar or not. He has a nice waterfalls, and with the traffic signal there, he figures his business is going to double because people's going to see it more. So, but the main concern is the safety of the buses and the kids crossing. That is a terrible intersection, and with those streets lining up, it would be perfect. And with the traffic lights and crosswalks and also sidewalks, the developer's going to put sidewalks the whole way down through Fletcher's Grove, and the town's going to put down along the complex, Campus Drive. Thank you. If you all have any questions, I'll be glad to answer them.
Thank you, Mayor Long. Mr. Nally?
Okay, excuse me. Madam President and board members, thank you for this opportunity to address the board. My name is Anthony Nally, and I am representing the town of Boonesboro, along with Mayor Long, and 2 other of the council members are here with me this evening. We have Councilwoman Terry Hollingshead, and we also have Council Member Ray Hansen in support of this. I want to tell you that I'm excited to be here to advocate for this realignment of Campus Drive and Chase 6 Boulevard to make this a safe intersection for Maple Avenue. I'm happy to be involved with the project where all parties agree and we are looking to move this intersection alignment forward so that it can be summarized in one word: safety. That's the entire summarization of this project, is safety. Everything about this project is safety related. Student safety, traffic safety, speed control safety, school complex traffic safety. Most importantly, pedestrian crossing safety. If we get this realignment and are able to put an intersection with a traffic light and crosswalks, then all those children in that new development will be able to safely cross Maple Avenue and not have this concern that we do right now. None of this will be achieved without the realignment project that we all need to be advocating for. I respectfully request that the board review this project sooner than later. In closing, let me just add, this infrastructure project that we are trying to get achieved will have a long-lasting effect on the present and the future of Boonesboro as we continue to grow. Thank you for your time and for your attention.
Thank you. Thank you both.
Madam President, can I give you the?
Absolutely, absolutely. Thank you, Mayor Long. Okay, the next person I have is Jean Carroll. I'm sorry?
I'll ask Ms. Carroll, please.
Oh, I'm sorry, I didn't see the entire thing. My apologies. Jean Carroll Keys.
Yes.
If you'd come forward, please.
Good evening.
Good evening.
I have a couple concerns about South Hagerstown High School. My daughter is a current student at South Hagerstown High School, and on any given day, there is always something going on. What are you guys planning to do about the safety of each and every child at that school? My next question is, I'm concerned about some racial tension, some racial things that are happening that are not being addressed, and I feel like things are being slipped under the carpet and the rug. What are we doing for the betterment of all the students in Washington County?
Where we dialogue with
It's
those
fine.
speaking during public
Absolutely.
comment, but we thank you for coming forward and talking with us. Have you shared your concerns with
Absolutely.
the principal?
Absolutely.
Okay. All right. Thank you very much. That concludes the number of people we have signed up. Is there anyone in the audience who would like to come forward? Hi. Good evening, Mrs. Flowers.
Hello, everybody. You probably saw me and knew I was going to say something. First, I want to thank each of you for always taking my phone calls or text messages or emails anytime I have a question or something I need to talk about school-related, so thank you. And also like to thank you for the vote this year on the additional early dismissal days, which has been a huge blessing and much appreciated. Of course, nothing is ever enough, but it definitely is a huge help and very much appreciated, so thank you. I don't know if that's been I know that's on the agenda, if that's been something that's been approved for next year or not, but I'm just speaking on behalf of that. I hope that or something similar to that will be included for next year. Just there's not much else can be done about planning time all the time. I know there's some things with that too, but that would be a wonderful additional piece. Before I get into the other part, there's another little thing that had come up about coaching, and I'm not sure, I was just made aware, so I was bringing this up, that if you don't coach there's coverage for coaches if you coach at the school, if you teach at the school where you coach, but if you don't teach at the school where you coach, there's not necessarily coverage for you for playoffs, for tournaments and things like that. There is one that we have at our elementary school, and just this week for tennis, he has to use his days because it's not covered. I don't know why that's, and I'm just I wasn't aware of that, and that would definitely be a little bit of an issue with coaching or people wanting to sign up to coach if they knew with a limited amount of days, if you're a younger person, you don't have as many to bank. So that's just a little concern I wanted to address. But for today, we're at the end of another school year, and I just have a few questions and facts regarding Hancock Middle Senior High School. So I appreciate all your listening ears on this subject that continues to come up, but it's still very important to all the families in Hancock. Number one, we have lost what we've lost in the last 2 years. We lost a PE teacher that retired. That has not been replaced. 3 core teachers or positions that have not been replaced, 1 in science, 1 in social studies, 1 in math, and a lead teacher position that had not been filled. I don't know that that's been filled yet for next year or not, or what's being done with that. We also had an athletic director that was also half-time AP that, due to some changes in staffing, I know that position was not filled for a good while. It is filled now. I hope that will still continue for next year. We also lost the ag program. Obviously, that was talked about a couple years ago, but we also now have lost the child completer program, and I think part of that has to do with some changes at the state level, possibly. I'm not positive on that, but just want to address that. And I do know that we have several AP courses, but there's only 1 HCC Essence course. And I know part of this is due to the numbers, but there are still ways we discussed previously that these could be addressed and remedied, especially with the ABLE program and people taking classes by Zoom for that as an additional way. I don't know if that's been looked into or not. Secondly, we talked about offering some new programs at Hancock, partly to give options to the Western Maryland students, but also as an option that's not available at any other high school. If we keep pushing this to the back burner, and I know there's a lot of things that come up, parents and students will continue to seek options elsewhere in tech or magnet schools. Not that they're a bad option, but when people are looking for some options and there aren't other options, some are choosing, if they're able, to choose that. Or even moving into neighboring counties. I, again, teach in 5th grade at the elementary school, and many times have parents that will say things and asking about stuff and waiting on things, and it's always something being looked into. Are they going to go to Berkeley? Are they going to go to Southern Fulton in order to have some options, because they feel, and I'm speaking on behalf of some parents, feel that it's being neglected and they hear it, but nothing ever is done, in their words. So is this still on the table? I know ROTC was one thing that we had talked about in the past. And are there any plans in sight for helping the revitalization of the high school in Hancock? I'm very appreciative that we still have our school, but there's still things that we can't just stop there and work on some things. Changing the boundary lines or permission for access across county lines, I know that's been an issue. I don't know if that's been decided yet with, for instance, Allegheny County to Washington County. But a long bus ride, a complicated schedule, or moving to another school is not by choice the best interest of students. There's been so much waiting over the last couple years and disappointments over lost programs and staffing that parents end up making other choices, which further complicates the situation. So thank you for your time and consideration. I would be happy to help in any way I can to help make all schools equitable, fair, and successful to all students, as I've stated before. Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anyone else that would like to come forward? Okay. That will end public comment then. We'll have board member response to public comment. If there's a board member that would like to speak, Mr. Stauffer.
As a former athletic director at Williamsport High School, I had coaches on staff who were elementary teachers and so forth. I don't know what the present situation is now. I've been retired 10 years. But we always worked that out where they didn't have to take a day, and I absolutely told coaches, do not take your days, we'll work something out. But that requires coordination between principals and so forth like that. So perhaps you can address that, Mr. or Dr. Michael?
We'll look into that. I'm not aware of any coaches that have to take their personal time for something. It could be, I don't know if it's assistant coach or what it is, but we'll look into it.
there anyone else that would like to speak? Mr. Gasper?
Go ahead, Mike. Go ahead.
I'd just like to thank Hancock for being here tonight. School is represented tonight, and thank you all for coming down and being a part of our program. Also thank the town of Boonesboro for coming out this evening and addressing some of their concerns. I think we are looking into them.
And I also would like to thank everyone for coming out tonight as well. Obviously, Hancock's not next door, so we appreciate you coming out. And like Dr. Michael said, I would defer to him on some of the staffing issues. I know that for me personally, I would love to see more programs to support Hancock. You know, it is something that we're working on. I know it's easy to say that, and then unfortunately, sometimes things, you know, fall by the wayside there. I hope that's not going to be the case here. Boonesboro, thank you for voicing your concerns. I think this is the second or third time you've been here. Thank you for bringing this to our awareness. And also South High, it's no secret there are some, you know, behavioral issues there and safety concerns. Again, it's one of those things, we're aware of them. It's easy to say that. Sometimes the fix isn't as easily done. I don't want to make it look like we're ignoring you, because we're definitely not. You're not the only one that's brought these concerns to our attention. I feel terribly for your daughter and other kids that are, and the overwhelming majority of kids that are there to be there to learn and to have a great high school experience. It is something that we're working on, and you know, we're not ignoring it, I guess is the best I can tell you.
Thank you. Any further comment?
Oh, I just wanted to, again, thank everybody for coming out and tell Mrs. Keys that I understand what you're talking about. My grandson attends South High, and he's brought some things to my attention. So it is something we're looking into, and, you know, hopefully we'll be able to make things better. So thank you very much for coming.
Again, thank you to all who spoke during public comment. We appreciate hearing from you, and we appreciate you taking the time from your busy day to come and bring your concerns to us. You have been heard. We hear you. Thank you. Under old business, we have our first item, which is the second reading of proposed changes to policy IGC, school-sponsored trips. So we have with us Mrs. Ram, who is our chief legal counsel. Good evening, Mrs. Ram.
Good evening, President Williams, members of the board, Dr. Michael. The Policy Committee presented proposed changes to Policy IGC to the Board of Education for first reading at its public business meeting on May 3rd, 2022. The proposed changes to the policy remove the provision in the policy that permits school-sponsored travel abroad. The removal of the provision does not prohibit students from traveling abroad, but it will no longer be school-sponsored and must be done through a third-party vendor. The committee also recommended that any reference to required trips be removed because the school system does not require school-sponsored trips. Following the Board of Education's approval of the first reading of the proposed changes to the policy on May 3rd, 2022, the committee placed a public notice on board docs and the school system's website seeking comments from stakeholders on the proposed policy. The committee reviewed the comment it received at its public work session on May 4th, 2022. The committee is now requesting the Board of Education to approve the second reading of proposed changes to policy IGC.
Thank you, Mrs. Ram. Is there a motion?
Madam President, I move to approve the second reading of proposed changes to policy IGC entitled School-Sponsored Trips.
Thank you, Mr. Bickford. Is there a second?
Second?
Thank you, Mrs. Murray. Discussion or any questions? Mr. Bickford, would you like to speak to the policy at all?
Yeah, absolutely. One of the things that I want to make sure people understand, because we do have many teachers that are and are planning trips abroad. That is not prohibited under this. It was just they work with third-party vendors. It's not a school-sponsored trip is the fair way to say that. So you might say, well, why is this particular high school going to Ecuador or something like that? Just it's through a third party, so it takes the responsibility off us. And we heard from some of those teachers, and they were very understanding of the need for this policy.
Thank you, Mr. Bickford. Anyone else? Any discussion, questions? All right, we're moving then to the vote. we're voting on approval of the second reading of proposed changes to policy IGC entitled School-Sponsored Trips. All those in favor? All right, we have 7 affirmative, and that motion carries. We'll move to the second item under old business, and that is the second reading of proposed policy JED, Student Registered Sex Offenders Entry on School Property. Mrs. Ram?
The Policy Committee presented proposed policy JED to the Board of Education for a first reading at its public business meeting on May 3rd, 2022. The proposed policy sets forth the Board of Education's commitment to maintain a safe and secure learning environment for all students and ensuring that students who are registered sex offenders continue to receive a free and appropriate education through other methods at a location other than school property. Following the Board of Education's approval of the first reading of the proposed policy on May 3rd, 2022, the committee placed a public notice on board docs and the school system's website seeking comments from stakeholders on the proposed policy. The committee reviewed the comment it received. The committee is now requesting the Board of Education to approve the second reading of proposed policy JED.
Thank you, Mrs. Ram. Is there a motion?
Madam President, I move to approve the second reading of proposed policy JED entitled Student Registered Sex Offenders Entry on School Property.
Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you, Mr. Stauffer. Any questions or any discussion? No? Okay, then we're voting now on the approval of the second reading of proposed policy JED entitled Student Registered Sex Offenders Entry on School Property. All those in favor of the motion? Okay, we have 7 affirmatives. And the motion carries. Thank you. Thank you, Mrs. Ram. We'll move to new business now. Our first item under new business is the consent agenda for this evening, and we have our Supervisor of Purchasing, Mr. Scott Bagdell, with us. Good evening, Mr. Bagdell.
Good evening, President Williams, members of the board, Dr. Michael. Tonight I have 16 items for your review. Sorry. These have been reviewed by our Purchasing Review Committee and are being recommended for approval. Staff is available if you have any additional questions.
Thank you, Mr. Bagdell. Mr. Pickford, are you ready with the motion?
I'm ready. I will say, when I started on this board, we read these through twice. So at least we only have to do it once. I move to approve the awards, renewals, and procurements for unit price contract for nursing and special education service providers to various vendors at the unit prices listed. Diagnostic and interim student assessments renewal to CenterPoint Education Solutions at a cost of $251,053.25. Goalbook Pathways and Toolkit renewal to eNome Inc. at a cost of $278,980. Playground equipment additions at North Hagerstown High and Washington County Technical High School to Cunningham Recreation at a cost of $79,999.29. Portable classroom improvements at Hickory Elementary to Milton Stamper Builders at a cost of $221,000. Western Heights Middle School roof replacement to Patuxent Roofing and Contracting, LLC, at a cost of $2,582,980. Front canopy at South Hagerstown High School to GRC General Contractor, Inc., at a cost of $200,285. Driveway improvements at Western Heights Middle School to Huntsberry Brothers, Inc., at a cost of $515,440. Welding booths to Roberts Oxygen Company, Inc., at the unit prices listed. Maintenance and operations work order system renewal to Brightly Software, Inc., at a cost of $60,260.87. Go Guardian Teacher Subscription License renewal to CDWG at a cost of $82,350. Building automation, energy management, and automated temperature control annual maintenance extension to Control Systems, Inc., at a cost of $228,500. MacBook laptops to Apple, Inc., at a cost of $175,800. Projectors to CDWG at a cost of $179,066. Desktop computers and monitors to CDWG at a cost of $235,600. $786. And Lightspeed Web Filter renewal to Lightspeed Systems at a cost of $103,500.
Thank you, Mr. Bickford. Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you, Mr. Stauffer. Any discussion, any questions?
I just have one question. I've brought it up in the past, especially when we were talking about the South High portables. I am concerned about kids, elementary school kids, going out into the portables. Do we, and maybe this is a question for Dr. Michael, what are we doing to ensure the safety for these kids? You know, heaven forbid, should there someone be on campus that's not supposed to be? You know, how do we do that to make sure that they're kind of enclosed in as much as possible like they are south?
I can't speak specifically to these portables that are being added, but generally we look at fencing. We've provided a great deal of fencing in a number of our schools, especially with younger children, more so than the older children. I don't know how to respond exactly to your question. We have cameras that in elementary, we have cameras on the inside. The teacher can see who's on the outside that's knocked at the door. We have cameras that see out to portables. So I hope that would be part of this project. That's what we've done with all the elementary portables, to my knowledge. Excuse me. Keep the portables locked. I mean, I can't get into any of the portables. I have to knock in order for me to visit a teacher in the portable. So we have safety precautions in place.
Mm-hmm. And if possible, I know we kind of talked about some places it's just not really feasible to do it, and if we need space, we need space. But if possible, I do like the idea of having some kind of a perimeter around there so random people can't get in, kids can run away, whatever it may be, especially for those younger kids.
Any other questions before we move to the vote?
The one that caught my eye was playground equipment at North High and Washington County Technical High School. I assumed it was for the preschool, the pre-K program, but
There's equipment at North High. You don't even realize it's there, but it's been there a long while and needs to be replaced and upgraded.
Mr. Stauffer?
Yeah, I'd just like to make a comment about the Go Guardian system and the, I've forgotten the name of it already. What's it called?
Pear deck.
What is it?
Pear deck.
Yeah. We had that in the Curriculum and Instruction Committee, and that's really unique the way that works. You can keep an eye and know who's on task and who's not on task and so forth, and the teacher can keep children, students from getting into trouble by doing that. But it's very interesting how that works. New way to teach students going on with all the technology.
All right, we'll move to the vote. We're voting on Mr. Bickford's motion, Mr. Stauffer's second, for approval of this evening's consent agenda as presented. All those in favor? All right, we have 7 affirmative votes, so our consent agenda is approved. Thank you, Mr. Wakefield.
Thank you.
Our next item under new business is approval of an advisory committee. Is there a motion?
President Williams, I move to approve the advisory committee members nominated for the advisory committee.
Thank you, Mrs. Murray. Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you, Mr. Stauffer. Any discussion, any questions? All those in favor of the motion to approve the advisory committee members nominated for the advisory committee? Okay, thank you. We have 7 affirmatives. Do we have approval of those nominations? We'll have Mrs. Ram back because we have a first reading of a policy.
Good evening. The Policy Committee reviewed policy DLC entitled Employee Expenses at its public work session on May 4th, 2022, at the request of staff. Staff requested the committee review the policy because it has been a number of years since its last review and the policy needed to be placed in the updated format. The committee is recommending the Board of Education approve the first reading and proposed changes to policy DLC.
Thank you, Mrs. Ram. Is there a motion?
Madam President, I move to approve the first reading of proposed changes to policy DLC entitled Employee Expenses.
Thank you, Mr. Bickford. Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you, Dr. Zentmeyer. Any questions? Any discussion?
Question, under policy statement procedure number 3A, it says employees will be reimbursed for approved expenses. And also, I see there it talks about meals, parking fees, and public transportation fees. Are those fees going to be known prior to this event, or is it going to be a blanket to cover it since it says approved expenses? So are they going to be just blanketed approved, or are they going to have a dollar amount?
It'll still be an approval process, so the regulation that'll be promulgated following this will articulate the reimbursement rate for meals up to a certain amount, what the mileage rate reimbursement is, and list all of those reimbursements. And then there's a process that the district employee follows seeking reimbursement. And approved, there are times where it's not approved, and that's what we want to just make clear, that although you submit it, it's not automatically approved.
Got it. Thank you.
I was going to ask, how do we determine what is approved and not approved?
Any other questions? All right, we're ready to move to the vote. We're voting on the approval of the first reading of proposed changes to policy DLC entitled Employee Expenses. All those in favor? All right, we have 6 affirmatives, and the motion carries. Thank you, Mrs. Ram. To our fourth item under new business, which is consideration of the negotiated agreement between the Washington County Board of Education and the Washington County Teachers Association for the 2022 through 2025 school year. Hi.
Good evening. We're excited to bring 4 memorandums of understanding with the Washington County Teachers Association tonight. And I think Neil is going to reserve his comments till we're through all 4 MOUs. So the first MOU for consideration of the negotiated agreement between the Washington County Board of Education and the Washington County Teachers Association for the negotiated agreement dated July 1st,
Mrs. Baker,
2022.
Excuse me, may I interrupt you?
Absolutely.
I think we're doing the approval of the negotiated agreement and then the memos of understanding?
That's correct. Well, they're all 4
They're
MOUs.
all under one? Okay.
No, there are 4 different MOUs, but the first one is for the full contract.
Okay, my
No
apologies. I
problem.
wanted to make sure we were,
A lot going on.
okay. Go ahead, please.
So the first MOU we're asking for your consideration is for the full contract, for the full negotiations for the new agreement dated July 1st, 2022 to June 30th, 2025, and the wages effective July 1st, 2022.
Is there motion?
Madam President, move to approve the negotiated agreement between the Washington County Board of Education and the Washington County Teachers Association Incorporated for the negotiated agreement dated July 1st, 2022 to June 30th, 2025, and the wages effective July 1st, 2022.
Thank you, Mr. Stelper. Is there a second? Second. Thank you, Dr. Zentmeyer. Any discussion, any questions for Mrs. Baker? And we'll move to the vote. We're voting to approve the negotiated agreement between the Washington County Board of Education, Washington County Teachers Association, negotiated agreement dated July 1st, 2022 to June 30th, 2025, and the wages effective July 1st, 2022. All those in favor? All right, we have 6 affirmatives. We have approval of that.
The next memorandum of understanding we'd like you to consider is one between the Washington County Board of Education and the Washington County Teachers Association regarding a temporary modification of the speech-language pathologist specialized teaching assignment stipend outlined in Article 13.7, Specialized Teaching Assignments, and 15.7, Salary Enhancement during the 2022-2023 school year.
Thank you, Mrs. Baker. Is there a motion?
Madam President, move to approve the memorandum of understanding between the Washington County Board of Education and the Washington County Teachers Association regarding a temporary modification of the speech language. Am I reading the right one? Okay. Pathologist specialized teaching assignment stipend outlined in Articles 13.7, specialized teaching assignments, and 15.7, salary enhancement during the 2022-2023 school year.
Thank you, Mr. Stauffer. Is there a second to Mr. Stauffer's motion?
Second.
Mr. Gessert, was that you? Thank you. Any discussion, any questions about this motion? We'll move to the vote. We're voting to approve the memo of understanding between the board and the Washington County Teachers Association regarding a temporary modification of the speech language pathologist specialized teaching assignment stipend as outlined in Articles 13.7 specialized teaching assignments and 15.7 salary enhancement during the 2022-2023 school year. All those in favor? Okay, we have 6 affirmatives. Motion carries. We have approval of that MOU.
Our third MOU this evening is between the Washington County Board of Education and the Washington County Teachers Association regarding a temporary modification of Article 15.2, national certification during the 2022-2023 school year.
Thank you. Is there a motion?
Madam President, move to approve the memorandum of understanding between the Washington County Board of Education and the Washington County Teachers Association regarding a temporary modification of Article 15.2, national certification during the 2022-2023 school year.
Thank you, Mr. Stauffer. Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you, Mr. Bickford. Any discussion, any questions about the motion? Does everyone understand the motion, so I don't have to read it again?
Yes.
All right,
Yes.
okay, then we'll move to the vote. All those in favor? All right, we have 6 affirmative votes. Motion carries. That MOU is approved.
All right, our fourth and final MOU of the evening is a memorandum of understanding between the Washington County Board of Education and the Washington County Teachers Association regarding planning time, including early dismissals and temporary modification of Article 7.14 planning time during the 2022-23 school year.
Thank you, Mrs. Baker. Is there a motion?
Madam President, move to approve the memorandum of understanding between the Washington County Board of Education and the Washington County Teachers Association regarding planning time, including early dismissals and temporary modification of Article 7.14 planning time during the 2022-2023 school year.
Thank you, Mr. Stauffer. Is there a second?
Second.
Gessford? Any questions or any discussion about that?
I just want to say
Motion.
this. I tried my best not to mispronounce Washington by saying Washington. I did. So if it did, I'm sorry.
And this, I do, it's just a clarification. This continues the granting 2-hour dismissals again, similar to what we did this year?
I think this allows for 5 2-hour early dismissals for the upcoming school year, and we'll bring counter adjustments in the future, so parents and staff know when those 2-hour dismissals will be.
Thank you.
Okay, we'll move to the vote. Does everyone understand the motion and remember the motion made by Mr. Stauffer and seconded by Mr. Gessler?
Yes.
Yes, they do. All those
For
in favor?
Washington.
6 affirmative votes, motion carries. And we have yet another MOU approved this evening.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Ms. Williams, before Neil goes, I would like just to say, I think in all the years, I can't remember us having this done this soon. So I thank Mrs. Rem, Mrs. Baker, Neil, and the team, and Mr. Mott, for all that you've done to come together and get this accomplished so soon. So thank you all very much. I appreciate that. I know our board appreciates it. Like I said, it's always it's a chore to get it done as early as you did, and you guys did a great job working together. So thank you very much. I'm sure we all appreciate it.
Echo Mr. Gesford's sentiments. Thank you to the board's team. Thank you to the WCTA's team. And I'm pleased that we were able to accomplish these MOUs and a negotiated agreement. It was a wide-open contract this year. And as Mr. Gesford said, there was a lot done, a lot covered, and it was done in a very timely way and sooner than past negotiations. So we appreciate that very much. Mr. Becker, did you want to speak? Mr. Malott?
I prepared a few comments just so I don't miss anything. So thank you to the Board of Education and your representatives who negotiated on your behalf. We did accomplish a lot throughout this process. And thank you to the WCTA team, and I hope I'm including everybody. Carlos Malott, who served as our chief negotiator, and our team members were Pam Abston, Becky Higgins-Airy, Tony McDonald, Carroll Mowen, Tanya Rowe, Allison Wadding, Shelby Wallace, and Eric Yuckley. In this agreement, the MOUs, the pending task force related to coaching compensation, and the commitment to implement the blueprint for Maryland's future all positively impact the association members and the students we serve. Members should feel well represented by their negotiations committee and the work completed with the board's team. I am hopeful that this year's work and the momentum will continue and lead to more improvements to our working conditions and compensation. I'm also hopeful, and I'm really crossing both fingers, I'm also hopeful that the county commissioners will partner as well with the Board of Education and display their commitment to public education by fully funding the budget next year. We did accomplish a lot, and I do appreciate the efforts of your team. And may I have one more moment of personal privilege?
Absolutely.
That's not in my notes, but Ms. Carroll Keys and Mr. Evans, excuse me, today of all days, we're reminded of student safety. It is paramount, and it is, Ms. Keys, paramount in what we do and what our school system does to ensure our children from birth to 21 in our school system are safe. And we're doing everything we can. And as a community, we need to get together and stem this tide of violence, whether it's a small little knuckle fight in a school or a massive shooting. We must stem this plague that is ruining our nation. And I hate to bring that up on what is an awesome time regarding our negotiated agreement and the accomplishments we made, but I cannot say it enough. We must continue to do this and work as a community to stop this violence that's plaguing our nation. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Malott, did you want to say anything?
Just thank you.
Thank you both.
Mrs. Baker, anything?
Thank you all.
Thank you.
Good job.
Thank you all.
Mr. Malott, I've never seen you at a loss for words.
That concludes our new business for this evening, and we'll move now to the superintendent's report. Dr. Michael.
Thank you, Mrs. Williams, members of the board. We have a number of recognitions tonight, and we're going to start with our 2022 Carson Scholars. And Ms. Huffer is going to share that information with her supervisor of counseling.
Good evening, President Williams, members of the board, and Dr. Michael. I'm Helen Huffer, Supervisor of School Counseling. We'd like to recognize 2 students named as 2022 Carson Scholars for demonstrating outstanding academic achievement and humanitarian qualities. Congratulations to Elizabeth Cross from Smithsburg Elementary and Emily Franco from Sharpsburg Elementary. We'd also like to recognize 8 students who renewed their Carson Scholar status by maintaining high academics and commitments to their communities. Congratulations to Sarah Freshour from Boonesborough High School, Justin Grabenstein from Northern Middle School, Nora Keller from Smithsburg High School, Grace Kittle from Smithsburg High School, Hunter Leal from Boonesborough High School, Madeline Mills from Northern Middle School, Emma Waite from South Hagerstown High School, and Emma Wilkinson from Smithsburg High School. Congratulations to all of our Carson Scholars.
To continue with our National Merit Scholarship Commended Scholars.
Through the National Merit Scholarship Program, we'd like to recognize 7 commended students and 1 finalist based on the students' PSAT scores in their junior year, supporting SAT, ACT scores, and consistently very high academic performance during high school. Congratulations to finalist Ali Zia from North Hagerstown High School. Congratulations to commended students from North Hagerstown High School, Logan Ark, Alexander Duncan, Tanish Gupta, Jaden O'Donohue, and Sophie Karashi. And from Smithsburg High School, Andrew Cross and Daniel Klimes. Congratulations for earning National Merit Scholars recognition.
Ms. Huffer, and this time Chris Kopko, if you come forward and recognize our 2022 STEM Educators of the Year.
Thank you, Dr. Michael. So recently, the Maryland Tech Council recognized 2 teachers as their 2022 STEM Educators of the Year. The STEM Educator of the Year Award recognizes Maryland educators who are furthering excellence in their classroom while exciting K-12 students about science, technology, engineering, and math. This year, I'm proud to say that both of the STEM Educators of the Year teach right here in Washington County Public Schools. Breeze Gearhart, who is here with us this evening, she's the first of our 2 educators honored with this award. Ms. Gearhart has been an educator with WCPS for 15 years, currently teaches first grade at Jonathan Hager Elementary, and is a member of our STEM Connectors Network, a county-wide STEM leadership group. Ms. Gearhart has worked with her administration to promote and support STEM education and the engineering design process in classrooms throughout Jonathan Hager Elementary. The second of our educators who couldn't be here tonight to be honored with this award, Jennifer Bloom, has taught 22 years in WCPS. She currently teaches 3rd grade at Smithsburg Elementary and is also a STEM connector. Ms. Bloom has worked tirelessly with her administration to promote the use of STEM kit materials in her school, providing lessons and professional development for other teachers to incorporate STEM into their everyday instruction. Both Ms. Gearhart and Ms. Bloom have exhibited excellent STEM leadership skills and are deserving of the honor of being recognized as the 2022 Maryland Tech Council STEM Educators of the Year.
All right, congratulations. Chris. I think we've had great success with a lot of our teachers being recognized for Teacher of the Year programs. At this time, I'm going to call in Scott Berman, our high school social studies content specialist, and he's going to recognize our 2022 Maryland History Day State Competition Award winners. Mr. Berman.
Good evening, Dr. Michael and members of the board. Tonight, we would like to recognize students who competed at the Maryland History Day contest. The competition, held on April 30th at the University of Maryland, Baltimore County, is a culmination of a year-long program from Maryland Humanities. This year, nearly 500 middle and high school students competed. Maryland History Day sparks critical thinking and helps develop skills in research and analysis, writing, and public speaking. Working solo or in small groups, students create original documentary films, exhibits, performances, research papers, or websites exploring a historical topic of their choice on an annual theme, which this year is Debate and Diplomacy in History, Successes, Failures, Consequences. Students from 13 counties and Baltimore City received special awards designated for outstanding Maryland History Day projects that covered specific subjects. South Hagerstown High School students, under the guidance of Mr. Jason Kamler, won the Excellence in Asian History for their project, The First Opium War. The students are Sean Tui, Colin Zhao, and Darrell Johnson. Also, Mr. Tim Akenclose, a 6th grade social studies teacher, was selected as the Washington County, Maryland History Day District Teacher of the Year. This is an annual award given to one teacher in each district from the Maryland Humanities. Thank you, Dr. Michael and members of the board.
Board members, our next presentation involves an elementary resource we purchased for a number of years. We were looking for an elementary math resource that aligned with the state standards. After a lot of work, the team selected Illustrative Mathematics. I think it's been a labor of love this year getting that implemented, but I've been so pleased with what I've seen throughout our county this year. And I think the math team, Amy Seiler, our K-12 supervisor of math and science, as well as Mary Ann Nussier, content specialist for elementary math, and I think they've also brought some posse members over there, I think, the rest of our math team. They've worked extremely hard to implement this. I also see one of our a number of our superstar teachers today, but one of our superstar teachers in mathematics that you'll see in a video here in a few minutes. I've just seen tremendous progress with this. I would liken it to my day, and maybe a few people here can relate to this, is when we saw word problems in our math books. And this is a step well beyond that, and we're making tremendous progress, I think, with our children. You'll see that in the future. So with that, I'll turn it over to Ms. Seiler.
All right, good evening. Thank you, Dr. Michael, members of the board, for having us this evening. Excited to be here. Did a great introduction, and I've already bypassed some of my notes there already. So again, Amy Seiler, Supervisor of Math and Science. With me, Mary Ann Nussier, one of our elementary math content specialists. Behind us in the audience, Angie Folio and Amy Hirsch, two of our other elementary math content specialists. And we have several of our district math lead teachers in the audience specifically, who have been just cheerleaders for this, our new resource going into this year. Throughout the year, we've captured video of them and all sorts of things that you'll get to see this evening. So I'm going wrong direction. Here we go. So there we go. So as he mentioned, our core resource, as a core resource, this is a resource that's used daily in math instruction across the county in kindergarten through 5th grade. The vendor is Imagine Learning, Illustrative Mathematics, or IM. You might hear it referenced for short across the county. This resource was rated the highest marks, meets expectations. You see here on the screen an example from 3rd grade from Ed Reports. So a very high quality curriculum product that we're excited to have in our county and be able to implement this year. Certainly with an implementation of anything new, needs to come quality professional learning to ensure teachers are prepared to implement that. So right about this time last year was when this was approved. And as soon as that happened, our elementary math content specialist, along with teams of essential teachers working on our essential curriculum team, started to integrate this core resource into our Washington County Public Schools essential curriculum, aligned with the Maryland College and Career Ready standards and the MCAP assessments. As a part of that, then, we were ready to launch into this past school year. Every elementary teacher who teaches math in grades K to 5 received 15 hours of professional learning in coordination with illustrative mathematics consultants and Imagine Learning consultants on the digital platform as well, to ensure that they had an understanding of this new sequence of learning and how to roll that out for the year. Along with that, our team of 3 elementary math content specialists provided optional professional learning opportunities all year long for teachers after school for every unit. Each grade level has 8 or 9 units for students across the year, and those after-school opportunities were provided for teachers to ensure that they felt ready and prepared to facilitate that instruction. As well, we worked with principals and lead teachers monthly to make sure that they felt confident in providing feedback on implementation. And we're really excited rolling into this summer, into next August, to launch into year 2, to continue to work with illustrative mathematics consultants for additional professional learning opportunities to include unit planning, to include not only the content of each grade level, but also the implementation and strategies there to support differing student needs. So we have sessions this summer on universal design for learning. We have sessions to support our English language learners with math language routines. We have sessions this summer on orchestrating discussions in the math classroom. And we feel all of these are really important because illustrative mathematics is a problem-based curriculum. And that's different from how some of us might have learned math, more of a stand and deliver method. I'm the holder of all knowledge and I will give it to you as students. And some students can learn that way, but research has shown more recently that there are better ways to teach and learn math. And illustrative mathematics core resource has provided that opportunity for us to do that. So Marianne's going to speak a little bit to what that means to be a problem-based curriculum and what that looks like in our classrooms.
As Amy mentioned, this approach to learning mathematics is likely different from the way you learned or that I learned mathematics. To demonstrate this shift and to show what this looks like in the classroom, let's take a look at this graphic on the screen. You'll notice that in box 1, the main role of the teacher is to really ensure that students understand the problem or the experience at hand. Without giving away too much of the answer, oftentimes we find that teachers, we really want to support students, and so oftentimes we give away or we spoon feed kids. We really ask that teachers take a step back so that students have an opportunity to think independently. So the next step of that then is once they understand the question or the problem, we give students an opportunity to work independently. And we do that because we recognize that all students have something to bring to the table in mathematics. Now, this isn't for the entire class period. This is a short span of time, probably 5 to 8 minutes per activity, just for the students to really get out their thoughts. And then we move to the third box where students are joined with a peer or a group of peers to discuss the mathematics at hand. And so sometimes you'll find that they find some issues with the math that they've calculated, or they see an approach that they like a little bit better, or they think, boy, this strategy was a nice efficient way to solve this particular problem. Meanwhile, the teacher, as Amy said, is not the one that's giving all the information. Instead, they are the ones in the back. They are monitoring, they're listening for information, they're questioning. Instead of giving answers right away, we provide feedback and we provide questions so that students can really be the owners of that understanding. Likely the most important part of this process is the part when the teacher brings all the students back together and they talk about the mathematics at hand as it connects to the learning goal. And you'll notice in box 4 there's a little bit of an anchor chart there. You'll often see teachers recording important information from the learning so that the next day they can go back to that information, circle back around. If there's a student who maybe on day 3 or 4 or 5 into the learning, or months into the learning, can't remember, what was perimeter, what was area. They have that visible learning to attach to and look back to. There's a structure of a 90-minute math block that each student engages in every single day. Very fortunate in Washington County to have 90 minutes of math daily. And so what that 60-minute, we start off with a 60-minute block of math. And what that is really a focus on grade level learning. As Amy said, with coming out of a pandemic, we're going to have unfinished learning, and we know that. But what we want to guarantee is that no matter where we are, we're going to give students access to that grade level learning. You're a third grade student, you're going to have access to third grade learning. And we're going to build in scaffolding that allows students to access that learning, right? We're not going to go back to kindergarten and try to work our way back up. We're going to instead accelerate learning with specialized tools, strategies, so that students can have access to the grade level learning. So to do that, we launch into learning each and every day with some type of routine. The routine relates to either a procedural fluency focus, where they're practicing, they're engaging in a conversation around basic math facts, maybe the way to solve basic math facts, maybe the way to solve whole number computation. It's an opportunity for them to revisit some of these things. Or it could just be simply a launch into learning for the day as connected to that particular learning goal, maybe reigniting some prior knowledge or something of that nature. The activities, that's what I just described, that whole process, that's where you're going to see that process of teacher letting go, students making meaning. That comes into play during the 2 or 3 activities that students engage in throughout the 60 minutes of time. You'll notice on the screen, this is an example of what you might see a student producing. I believe this was maybe a first or second grade student's work, where they're making their thinking visible. They're making the mathematics come alive. They're communicating their mathematics there in written form. Sometimes you'll see representations and things of that nature as well. Again, we bring it all together with the teacher synthesizing and bringing to the forefront those important concepts, those important things that we want students to walk away with each day. At the end of each 60-minute lesson, then students have the opportunity to independently complete what we call a cool down. And a cool down is just a 5-minute experience where students solve something or show the teacher what they've learned through that cool down. And then the teacher uses that data in addition to maybe some diagnostics and some checklists and things of that nature to really know where each and every student is in terms of proficiency within their classroom. And so the table that you see in front of you is an example of what this might look like during that last 30 minutes of the math lesson. This is where we get down to individual needs of students. And so the green portion is time with the teacher. So group 1 is grouped based on their individual needs, group needs there, and they may be remediating or returning to some skills that they need. They may be just reinforcing. The teacher noticed that they need a quick reinforcement. While the group 2 may be an acceleration or enrichment group. Students who obviously have already mastered the skill, where do we push them next? How can we enrich their experience in mathematics? And then you'll see that the other students, while the teacher is working with small groups, they're engaged in things like centers or practice problems, all provided by IM.
Oops, keep hitting the wrong button. Okay, so how's this gone? What does the data say about student achievement? Well, coming into the beginning of this year, if you've read articles and things, researchers are saying math's going to have a long hill to climb to recover from the pandemic. Very sequential, lots of skills lost, things like that. So we needed to know what were students coming back with after some interrupted learning and things. So we utilized back in September our universal screener called Math Inventory. For all students, you see in September, we gave it to students in grades 1 through 5. We did hold off with kindergarten until December there. You'll see their data in just a moment, but just as a grounding point for this year, to know and understand what our students were coming in, ready to learn. Our universal screener was showing us here, a purple box just came up there under our totals. Around 15% of our students, according to our universal screener, were proficient in advanced. That means that they were came in ready to learn at grade level at the beginning of the year. On the opposite side of that, at the beginning of the year, almost 60% of our students were showing that they were at risk or potentially already behind in mathematics, walking into their particular grade level at the beginning of this year. So we knew coming in we had some work to do. We also knew that the research was saying that the best opportunity for students to recover in mathematics is to give them access to grade level instruction every day. So we were confident coming in this year with a resource that was in common across our county, K-5, giving access to grade level instruction, that we were in a good place to do that. And, drum roll, as of April, here we did give our end of year assessment in April to avoid the rest of MCAP assessments and things here at the end. So given that we gave this in April, with still another month and a half, 2 months of instruction left to go. You see at the bottom our totals now including kindergarten in this. We are now showing over 57% of our students performing at or ready to learn at grade level, up from that 15% at the beginning of the year. And again, looking at in the below basic category, dropping from almost 60% of our students at risk of being behind in mathematics down to just over 20% of our students. Obviously, still some work to do there, but we are super, super proud and excited for our teachers and our students of the growth that has occurred across this 1 year of the implementation of a common resource across all of our elementary classrooms. We absolutely attribute a great deal of this data to having the common resource, to being able to provide access to grade level instruction every day in coordination with that 90-minute math block and that opportunity for the 30 minutes of targeted small group instruction for students has absolutely provided teachers opportunities to accelerate learning, to give students just what they need just in time to access that grade level learning. All of that paired with quality professional development and the dedication and hard work of our teachers and our students and our administrators supporting them, I think has gotten us to this point for sure. So I do think this data is just one demonstration of what a look at a high quality curriculum paired with great teachers and leaders can do for students. As such, one last thing here before we have a video for you, but this banner showed up in the mail to us not very long ago. I just had an opportunity to snap a screenshot and put it in our presentation at the end. But we received this just very recently from Imagine Learning for an award as a District of Excellence. They said that we were one of the highest. They tracked our usage through their digital platform of illustrative mathematics over the year and provided us and our teachers with this award. So I think that was worthwhile to share with you as well, again, just to demonstrate the commitment and the dedication of our teachers going into the school year with this great opportunity for students. So we do believe we are absolutely poised to go into a second year with this core resource, to continue to see the growth that you saw in those data charts moving forward. But I want to let some teachers, lead teachers and administrators share a little bit more with a video that we've put together for you about how they feel teaching and learning of math has transformed this year, in great part due to illustrative mathematics. So thank you.
Real-world problem solvers. Today, what students were doing is we were trying to figure out the missing side of a shape when we're given the perimeter, and they had to use what they know about the attributes of the shape, for example, lines of symmetry, and then use what they knew about a perimeter to be able to show me a solution path to solve a problem. Kids are required to work independently with one another, and then also as a whole group. I have seen a lot of discourse constantly on a daily basis. Students are talking with one another and really learning from one another. And really, it's requiring the students to become the learners of the classroom, and the teachers to really be able to coach in and ask those probing questions so that students can really learn through that perseverance and problem solving.
So I think the beauty of the whole IM program is that it is a core resource. It is something that we are using systemically that provides every teacher, every single one, an opportunity to use a program with fidelity.
So at Esther, we are a very transient school. So we have kids that come, go. So I think ultimately, if they are within Washington County, we know the previous knowledge that they should be bringing when they show up at our doors, and vice versa.
The piece that has been the nicest with this has been the fact that the county really made sure that we had the tools and the resources to teach it. So we have a set of slides that we can use, we have a math workbook that we can use, then we have our teacher workbook that we can use, and then we have center ideas that we can then use to work with the kids. The nice piece about the centers is it then gives you that time to pull that small group and give some tutor time to kids that are struggling or kids that are having trouble getting that lesson. They love the centers because that's their time to pick their partner and to work in the centers.
They love to work collaboratively. They love to show me their work. It is a great resource because it is showing students that they can figure things out on their own. They're able to discover it and really understand and apply it then to that transfer piece. I think the nice thing about IM is really that synthesis component. So the teachers are really able to synthesize the learning, really capture what some of our students are doing in the classroom so other kids can learn from one another, and then be able to transfer that and apply that independently to their daily cool downs, which really build nicely from day to day. It is quite clever. How can we prove it's a square that all sides are the same length? This is an incredible resource that Washington County Public Schools has purchased for our county. And it has made a huge difference in the way the students are learning math, the way they're doing math, and the way they're pushing forward. So it is an incredible resource that I am just so excited about. I have the tools available right there at my fingertips in order to give these students these multi-step rich problems that they're able to work through. It excites me to see that I am not telling them how to do something, that they're figuring it out.
I want to thank the math team for sharing this evening and really for all of our teachers, especially those that are here in the audience. I know it's a big lift to have a new resource at the beginning of the year on top of everything else that's happening, on top of COVID. And it's been a big lift for our staff to really implement this. I've seen tremendous progress throughout the year. Some people from the first day, some people a little bit slower start, but what I've really witnessed is the opportunity for our students to grow and learn math differently. And I'm pleased to see that in our data, it's showing up. And board members, this has been a great investment so far. I think as teachers become accustomed to this, as students become accustomed to this year after year, especially on grade level curriculum. That doesn't always happen without a resource like this to drive that. I think we're going to see our math achievement and the success of our students in mathematics grow substantially.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, a couple other things. Looking forward to graduation coming up. Next week, actually we start this week. Last day for seniors is Friday coming up. We have Antietam Academy graduation this week, Family Center graduation this week. Next week we'll roll into our other school graduations, so just really excited. Tuesday looks like it might be a little bit warm coming up for board members, the places you might be. But you can see on the screen our list of celebrations coming up with graduation. We're excited for that. Look forward to a good week next week, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and hope the weather cooperates for those that are outside. If for any reason our ceremonies are postponed because of particularly rain, lightning, our plan is to move to the next day, very similar to other schools that do outdoor graduations. There are a couple graduation ceremonies that are indoors and obviously won't be affected by the rain. For underclassmen, Tuesday, June 7th will be the last day for those students with a 2.5-hour early dismissal. And I know a day our teachers are looking forward to, June 8th, will be our last day for teachers. When I'm talking about teachers, not only do I want to thank our teachers, I want to thank our association. They had the full contract open, Neil, Carlos, and the WCTA team, and to our team, thank you all for the work and cooperation throughout the year. We greatly value all three of our employee groups. Our teachers do a tremendous job in educating our children. Again, with COVID, it's been a challenge, but I do appreciate all the work on the language. If I have a regret, is that we just did not have more money in order to address salaries that we very much need to continue to address in Washington County. I've said to the county commissioners, I've said to this board, to others, you can't give a 1% raise, a 1.25% raise without a step. Even though we gave a decent raise this year in light of 8% inflation, we're not making progress, and we're in a very competitive market for teachers and ESP and administrators. And we need to continue to make this an attractive place to work. And part of that is salary and good quality language that addresses the needs of staff while also addressing the needs of our students, which is all of our paramount goal. I do want to wish a number of our sports teams well. As far as I know, Clear Spring is playing right now in Frederick and playing against Allegheny. I haven't got an update from anybody, but I hope they're doing well and prevail. Boonesboro is to play softball down the road today, and that game got canceled. It was in Baltimore today, and it was raining down there, so I wasn't surprised it got moved till tomorrow, so we wish them well. We have some people still in tennis and quite a few students involved in track coming up this weekend, so wish all of them well. And probably kind of along the lines of what Mr. Becker was saying, thoughts and prayers to the school in Texas and the sad happenings there. And with that, Mrs. Williams, that concludes my comments.
Thank you, Dr. Michael. This time we'll move to personnel action. Dr. Pugh.
Good evening, President Williams, Dr. Michael, members of the board. As discussed earlier in closed session today, there are a number of personnel actions for your consideration, and at this time I ask for your approval.
Thank you, Dr. Pugh. Is there a motion?
Madam President, I move to approve the personnel actions dated Tuesday, May 24th, 2022, as presented in the closed session.
Thank you, Mr. Bickford. Is there a second? Thank you, Dr. Zentmeyer. Any questions for Dr. Pugh? All those in favor of approval of the personnel actions dated Tuesday, May 24th, 2022, as presented in closed session? Okay, we have 6 affirmative votes. We have approval. Thank you, Dr. Pugh.
And Mrs. Williams, may I have a moment of
Absolutely.
personal privilege? I'm not going to announce all the changes tonight, but I normally announce principal changes. So backfilling at Paramount Elementary School from staff changes last week. Stacy Baker will be the new principal at Paramount Elementary School. Stacy's coming from assistant principal at Eastern Elementary. New to our county, Mr. Jeremy Barnes will be the principal at Rockland Woods Elementary School. Diana Gray will be transferring to Pleasant Valley Elementary School. At Hickory Elementary, Mike Telmaco, Dr. Telmaco, will be our new principal at Hickory Elementary. And from South High Assistant Principal, Justin Bright will be the new principal at Boonesboro Middle School. So thank you.
Thank you. All right, we'll move to reports to the board. We'll begin with board member committee reports. Mr. Bickford, would you like to begin there?
Sure. Policy Committee will meet June 8th at 2 o'clock.
Thank you. Mr. Getchell?
Nothing for the facilities.
Mr. Evans? Finance Committee?
We will be meeting on Thursday at 9 o'clock at the Funkstown Room.
Dr. Zentmeyer, curriculum and instruction?
Curriculum and instruction will meet here June 20th at 1:30.
Under miscellaneous business, we have one item, and that is our future agenda list. It is a lengthy list. We have several updates and reports coming up, as well as approval of plans, including the educational facilities master plan. So please review the list. If you have any additional suggestions for items to be placed on an upcoming agenda, please let me know, or a member of the committee know, and we will do what we can to get it on the list for agenda items. Okay. Dr. Zentmeyer, I probably should have said something earlier before we moved to miscellaneous business, but it slipped my mind. Or yes, when we were talking about the committee reports, curriculum and instruction, at one of our previous meetings, we had some discussion from committee or from board members as a result of some public comment made by individuals regarding American Sign Language. And there was quite a bit of interest expressed, I believe, on the part of board members. And I was just wondering if that's something that the Curriculum and Instruction Committee could look at.
Sure.
The feasibility of adding to our program of studies, a pilot program, just brainstorming of such.
We do have a plan for next year, and I'm sure Dr. Willow would be glad to give an update on that at a curriculum committee meeting.
Thank you. I just didn't want to lose that, and so thank you. I'm glad to know that that's on the radar. Okay, so that is miscellaneous business, so there's nothing left but board member comments. So, Mr. Bickford, would you like to begin again to my left?
Yes, I too want to say how pleased I am that we came to an agreement with the Teachers Association. This was my first full contract, and I do have to give a lot of credit to the staff. This was, I think, our first one with our relatively new attorney, not so new anymore, but there was a lot to get through at meetings, and it was done so very efficiently, and yet each item was given consideration. So I appreciate that, and I too am glad that we were able to fund raises this year, and obviously more needs to be done. We are still at this point are first in the state when it comes to highest starting teacher salary, but we immediately slip when it gets to middle and teachers with veteran teachers. So we do have work to do there because it's going to get more and more competitive. I do want to she's going to kill me, but I want to publicly praise my wife. As many of you know, she's a media specialist and teacher in Frederick County. She would not let me post this on social media because she hated the picture they took. But this week, she was honored with her and a team member were honored with a grant, a fully funded grant by the Battelle National Biodefense Institute for $14,000, which is fantastic. I asked her budget to update her library every year is $4,000. So $14,000 for her school. I was really impressed, and it was the largest grant proposal that Battelle funded. And it's just quickly titled Lion Labs Learning Tubs, Creating Opportunities to Engage Minds and Connect Our Community. So not Washington County, it's Frederick County, but it's good education news. And I'm publicly praising my wife, which, again, I'll get in trouble for at home. So.
Congratulations,
Thank you.
Stephanie Bickford. Mr. Stauffer.
Again, I'll reiterate what he said about negotiations. Give a lot of credit to our staff and to the Washington County Teachers Association. For those who don't know, we don't have a teachers union in Washington County. We have a teachers association. And I've said this to many people through the years. It's an association because in Maryland, if it's a union, you have to join. When I worked at the shoe factory back in 1965, I was there for summer help in the stitch down department of the Hagerstown shoe company. And after 30 days of being on the job, I had to pay union dues. It wasn't very much, but I had to join whatever union it was there and so forth because I was there. I was going to be there 3 months until college went back into session and so forth. The other thing is too, so you don't have to join the Teachers Association, and you can't strike. You cannot strike. If it were a union, you could do what you could do in some other states, strike and so forth. The more aggressive teacher organizations are the American Federation of Teachers, the AFT. They're aggressive. They're the ones you read about in Chicago, New York, those big cities. They're the ones that you read about in the newspaper. But congratulations to everybody. Job well done by everyone. And as Mr. Guestford, I think, said earlier, it was done quickly. Because sometimes these things drag out to summertime.
Mr. Guestford.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to graduation coming up here. Tomorrow night I'll be at it'll be Thursday night, Antietam Academy, and then I go to Hancock. So I'll be there next week. So I'm looking forward to that.
Thank you, Mr. Evans.
Yep, congratulations to all the seniors. I'll be at Smithsburg personally, so congratulations to, I'm sorry, not Smithsburg, Clear Spring. So I was at Smithsburg last year. Congratulations to the Clear Spring baseball team, the Boonesboro softball team, and all the other individual athletes who are competing in track and field as well. Ms. Williams, I appreciate you asking Ms. Zentmeyer about the potential ASL, so I am looking forward to hearing from Dr. Will about that in the future as well. And good luck to all the graduating seniors.
I'm sure everybody has a fifth cousin or 10th or 15th that they're proud of in their genealogy, and mine just happens to be my grandmother was a Hoover, related to President Herbert Hoover. So when I was looking through my magazine and saw this quote, I stopped. Freedom is the open window through which pours the sunlight of the human spirit. I hope as we celebrate Memorial Day, we remember those who paid the ultimate price for our freedom. Secondly, as we search to fill some incredibly large shoes, not figuratively large shoes, if you're superintendent, if you have prayer time left over, please pray for our wisdom as we make this choice. And finally, congratulations to our seniors. We're so proud of you.
Thank you, Dr. Zentmeyer. I would just like to offer my congratulations to all those students and staff members that were recognized this evening for their accomplishments, and my thoughts will be with the graduating seniors on their graduation day. Before we adjourn, I would seek a motion for us to go into closed session to discuss items pursuant to the general provisions article of the Annotated Code of Maryland, Section 3-103A, 1, and Section 3-305B, 1 and 7. Is there a motion?
So moved.
Thank you, Mr. Stauffer. Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you, Mr. Evans. Any discussion? All those in favor of going into closed session? All right, we have 6 affirmative votes. So we will go into the conference room for closed session. And if there's nothing further, we will adjourn this meeting.